Hello, I'm Dr. Kristen Dembroski, and I would love to answer my top 3 favorite interview questions. First question is, what would I self-identify as some of my strengths? I think far and away the top 2 characteristics of mine are that I'm organized and I am a deliverer. A recent example of that in my practice, we're going through a few moments of renaissance in our school at the moment, and we are reviving a practice called counting collections that we know to be a best practice. It's early literacy, numeracy, cardinality, subitizing, place value. It's great for 4K up through third grade, but it's gone to the wayside and we're bringing it back. We have a lot of new staff and staff that have forgotten this practice. So I made that my year goal to get counting collections revived in the classroom. I did some research. I put together a request and spent about $800, got all the materials, organized them by grade level and ability level. I created a resource hub where I housed all the documents that we have about counting collections, from videos of instruction and assessment tools, documentation logs, developmentally appropriate prompts for students at different levels. Then I professionally developed the staff about this new resource hub and practice. I co-administered the assessment called a counting trajectory with our new staff and helped us sit with them and reflect on the student needs that bubbled to the surface to help us make small groups. And then finally, we were ready to just go ahead and open our collections and get students touching items. And I pushed in and co-taught with teachers, modeling how to confer with students as they counted their collection. That was to be my year-long goal. I got that finished in about 2-3 months. So I'm very much a go-getter, and I don't like to sit and let grass grow under my feet. I'm also very flexible, and I have a real desire and need to learn at all times. I am a lifelong learner. I have a very strong background in literacy, and I could talk about reading all day. However, when our district switched recently from content-based coaching, I was hired as a literacy coach, and they shifted to student-based coaching, I was not afraid. I actually got excited when I saw that I could use this as an opportunity for myself to grow and learn more about mathematics. I immediately asked if I could join our district math leadership team, in addition to the literacy leadership team. I signed up for several CISA professional learning series, such as the Math Leadership Network, and other seminars. I spent a lot of time listening and learning in math classrooms. I asked to travel to other schools to observe some high quality teaching and best practices in pockets throughout our district. I collaborate with our math experts in our district when I need help, and I'm happy to model that growth mindset and what that looks like for my colleagues. Another cornerstone strength of mine is that I'm just a very nurturing and kind and warm person. I love working with people. Students love seeing me join their classroom. They ask for hugs and high fives. I know the whole school by name. Staff really lean on me as a listener and a sounding board. In my office, I have a candy bar, a buffet, pillows, blankets, armchair, therapy lamp, a soft shoulder. I will often tap in for teachers to take breaks, and teachers know they can lean on me at any time. The next question is, what are the most important characteristics of an effective instructional coach? Foremost to me is to be knowledgeable of the content, but also fun. So an example of that, a coaching cycle that I recently completed with our third grade team. Third grade is in the middle of mystery reading unit, and our pre-assessment data showed that, our students really need to focus on summarizing, as that is a major priority standard throughout the third grade, really through every grade. But our third graders in particular are really needing help with this summarizing standard. So as a team, we gathered our pre-assessment data, we thin sliced or made groups based on student performance, and created focus skills and groups for small group instruction based on that pre-assessment data. Then, as a team, after unpacking that summarizing standard and really understanding the level of rigor that we should expect from third graders, we were able to work backwards design, and develop some scaffolded tools and activities to bring students along that continuum. We developed graphic organizers, sentence stems, and sequencing activities. I helped organize a set of accessible and engaging mystery texts so that all students could access independent reading level and grade level material. So we pulled together audiobooks, read to me books, chapter books, and we put students into book clubs. As students finished reading a mystery, they were expected to write a summary using the tools that we've developed. And they got very specific feedback from their teacher or myself or the reading specialists. We all pushed in to help during this time. And then to help breathe that little bit of engagement and fun into the unit, I staged a real life mystery where I had a staff member, our art teacher, steal their classroom mascots. They have little stuffed cows because they adopted a cow in each class. And then the students got to learn about forensics, and I got to reinforce mystery genre and vocabulary and timeline and sequence as we worked through and solved the mystery. They then wrote a persuasive letter to our principal appealing for help to reclaim their mascots from the art teacher. Another really effective coaching feature is being a strong principal relation, having a strong principal relationship. That's really paramount. My principal is new this year, and he and I worked to establish weekly meetings with clear agendas. We co-planned staff meetings and school leadership meeting agendas. About midway through the year, we noted that our collaborative grade level meetings, some might call PLC meetings, they were becoming kind of unfocused and veering away from our established purpose and more into like logistical concerns and scheduling and individual student issues. So to help recenter our work, I led a staff meeting where we revisited our team working norms and our purpose for our PLC time. And I created a PLC workflow visual that helps us see and plan for allocating that short amount of time that we have together around looking at student work and answering the 4 PLC questions, and ensuring that we have established roles in our meeting space. So we have a note taker, a timekeeper, and a process observer. So that process observer will rotate, and it's really a key role. And that was really new to our staff because this person would help provide evidence and feedback for continuous improvement for our team. So my principal and I tag teamed collaborative meetings for several weeks. We modeled being the process observer and giving specific feedback on our progress with this new workflow and asset-based language. So the staff feedback from that was actually really positive, that this helped us focus our efforts on improving student outcomes and eliminating that feeling that we were just punching a clock and, putting in our hour and, spinning our wheels on parking lot topics. And so we're really focused on what are our students going to learn in the next week and what are we all going to do to help them get there. I'm also very strategic, and an example of that from this last year would be I led an informal running record professional learning series. So through our school leadership team, we identified the need to develop our staff capacity for administering and analyzing running record protocols. Staff were reporting feeling very overwhelmed and unconfident in their analysis, that there just wasn't time. And we also noted some fidelity issues with administration. So I worked with the school reading specialist, and we put together a year-long professional development series for our building to increase teacher capacity and fidelity around the running record benchmark tool. We began by establishing research and rationale for running records, reminding us why this is the best practice and why we do this. We provided training on informal running records versus benchmark, why they're both essential and the role they both play. We did a lot of modeling, co-planning, co-administration. We continuously collected staff feedback at regular intervals, giving reflection time, follow-through meetings with me or with the specialist. And as a result, all classroom teachers successfully adopted a process for organizing, administering, analyzing, and collaborating with their learning teams around these running records. So something that went from a huge lift of this thing that I have to do every 4 months to how is this embedded in my practice? How am I always thinking about it and planning for it and using it as formative information to move my students along? And then it becomes what you do instead of a thing I have to do. So this, as a result, we were able to get 3 benchmark running records per student last year, as well as several informal running records in the interim that help guide small group instruction. All of these examples, I don't have a specific example, but I hope you hear in all the previous examples that I've given that I'm also very data-driven, and I believe that is a huge cornerstone of effective coaching. Data has been driving all of the decisions that I shared and shaping the journey along the way. We always go back to student data and what students need. The final feature I think of an effective coach that I've got is being celebratory. I help magnify and grow small and big wins and help make them visible. An example of that, we have trimester MLSS screening and data meetings. So every fall, winter, and spring, we screen our students and look to see who is not or who is at grade level and what we need to do to help move them along. We recently finished winter screening, and honestly, assessing and screening is a heavy lift on teachers who are losing a bit of their resilience in this hard slog of the middle of the year. They're not seeing the growth they want to yet, and it can feel just really heavy on them. So I gently remind them, actually, maybe winter is the best time of the year. There's no interruptions. We're not taking off for Thanksgiving or Christmas. We've got long interrupted weeks where we can really roll up our sleeves and get to work. We're starting to see this turning point in growth in our students, and our targeted efforts from fall are starting to come to bear if we look for them. We don't adjourn our MLSS screening meetings until we've all found something to celebrate, and it's actually not that hard when we put our mind to it. Next, what are some elements of effective instruction, specifically look-fors in reading and writing? Well, I would back up and say there are elements of both reading and writing that make for effective instruction all around before I get into each subject in particular. Look-fors in any classroom. The first thing I need to know is, do you have a clearly written learning intention and success criteria somewhere that feed into or connect to priority standards in some way? Do you know where you're headed? Do students know where they're headed? I look for an environment where all students are included in the classroom community. It's all our classroom. Nobody's a visitor. And do we have appropriate access to the learning activities? Are students engaged because they can access what they're doing? I look for opportunities to learn in whole group, small group, and independent practice. I really believe in the workshop model, and that is the best way to grow students in all 3 environments. Specifically in reading, obviously, it's very important to have a print-rich environment in your classroom. I listen for conversations that prize reading authentic texts for comprehension and for joy, with learning as the ultimate goal. Language is the root of literacy, so it's very important to me to have a discussion-rich classroom with opportunities to turn and talk and to digest important ideas. I look for reciprocal teaching opportunities to enrich reading and writing and phonics. We should be writing about what we're reading, and we should be embedding our phonics in our reading and writing and seeing that connection like a tripod, a stool without all three legs is going to fall over. All three need to hold each other up. I love hearing from students and teachers that are word nerds. We're just fascinated by letters and word chunks and multiple meanings. We get to highlight that for our kids and infect them with a passion for language. It's very important to me to have a systematic and sequential approach to teaching phonics with multiple tiers of intervention that address phonemic awareness, phonics, morphology, and vocabulary. Teachers who have a very clear understanding of the developmental progression of literacy skills and strands can listen carefully and confer with students as they read and know where to guide them next along the continuum. For math, a huge look for me is a focus on fluency and flexibility. I love to see math talks that engage all students, total participation, right, in discussion and acknowledge different strategies for solving a problem. I listen for math discourse where students aren't only focused on accuracy, but they're challenging themselves and one another to articulate their thought process, learning from one another. Right? So I look for students to have the opportunity to show what they know in several ways, not just one way, not just accuracy, but can you show it in several ways, ranging from concrete to representational to abstract. So I might see anchor charts that celebrate student strategies like, this is Lincoln's way of counting. He draws circles around them and moves them left to right. Let's all try Lincoln's way. Lots of games to